Hello, everyone. This is another Freedom to Feel conversation, and my guest today is Dr. Bahareh Talei. She is a licensed psychologist with over 2 decades of experience in clinical and forensic psychology. She's the founder of Hive of Hope, a nonprofit that provides affordable mental health services and clinical training. And she also operates the Diagnostic and Counseling Center, where she specializes in comprehensive diagnostic assessments for autism, learning disabilities, ADHD, and giftedness. What's not to love about what do you do? Just by reading the bio, of course, I had access to it before meeting you today, but it's beautiful to see people using their energies, their mind, their heart to help others. There's something about that. And I often say here, when I ask the question, what's the purpose of life? You know, I ask this question to so many people. I often get the same answer. It's to help one another. So I guess the first question to you, before the one that I mentioned off record about introducing yourself, is, do you feel like you're living your purpose? This is a calling? It's a mission? How do you see what you're doing in the world today, Bahareh?
Well, thank you first for having me. I'm very happy to be here. I do feel like what I do is part of who I am. Even outside of my profession, when I'm out in the world on my off hours, I'm still there to help. You know, it doesn't take much to be kind or to want to help. So I think I'm in a profession that is very reflective of my personality.
Yes.
And my purpose.
I love that. Yeah, I
Thank
love
you.
that. You see, this is something that, you know, today, for some reason, I had this an insight about the balance. You know, a lot of times we want to push away the dark and just live in the light. And we see that a lot in spiritual circles, in wellness, well-being, the healing community. It's the community that I'm in, that you're in. But it comes to me a lot. It's this message of a balance. And today, kind of more than ever, it's right here. The smell of it, the perfume of that is here. That we talk about kindness, love, but it's really a balance. So it feels like the reason why we are doing all this is because there's a need, and there's a need for balance. So, we have the dark and the light, so we don't have one overcoming the other. How do you feel about these days, like in the world that we live in? Do you believe that we need more of the light, of this of kindness and love?
I feel, when I always say, my kids would probably say, Mom, put this on one of your t-shirts, because I have several things I'll say over and over. And I always say, if I was able to impart one big lesson would be, may I cuss? I'm sorry. Is that okay or no? So if
Yes,
crappy things, shitty things happen to good people. Yeah. Shitty things happen to bad people, right? So you can do everything that you think you're supposed to do in this life in a perfect way, and it still not work out, and something shitty still happen. The only difference between people is how they're going to respond to it. That's the only difference.
Right.
Am I saying ignore the dark feelings that come? No. Ride the wave of it. Ride the wave of it, of that dark feeling or being sad or mad or whatever it is. Yeah. Despair. I think a lot of people feel despair. Ride it. But only difference, How are you going to respond to it?
Yeah.
You know, so it's more of that, of just being authentic to yourself. But yeah, like, it doesn't take much to bring light and be kind. That brings light to people.
Yes, that's a big one, right? When it comes to that, so do you feel that most of us don't know how to do that? Why do some humans push away the dark side, or they fake their light or their kindness instead of really becoming authentic and truthful about where they are? It's basically that, isn't it? It's kind of honoring where we are right now. What do you attribute that to? The lack of self-knowledge, more education on mental health, spirituality?
Right. I think I think it's all of it. I think it's the way we're raised and how we respond to things.
Right.
I personally have come from a background where there was a lot of like culturally negative responses to things, like negative ways of thinking,
Yes.
or feeling things very physically or not communicating. And being like, this isn't working for me anymore. This doesn't feel good. And deciding, you know what? That doesn't feel good. I can change it. There is a sense of autonomy, and it's rewiring your brain.
Right.
When people come to me and they're like, you're optimistic or you can let things go, I'm like, this did not happen just naturally.
Right.
It took work. All that rewiring. You start with baby steps of reframing things.
Right.
You know, if I could give like a hopefully quick example, but I took my daughters to the beach one day, which I normally never do, and we got lost. And we lugged this cooler back and forth and walking, and we tripped and we're all crying and upset. We get in the car. We never even made the beach party, but we're all miserable. Yeah. We get in the car. They're very upset and they're young, and I'm in there, and I thought to myself, this is up to me to shift and show them shitty things happen.
Right.
I looked over. I said, so sucks. We missed it. I said, but you know what? I'm so craving like one of those big old waffle cones. That's where we're going. And I'm like, and of course it'd be your mother to get lost because I have no sense of direction. And then we started to laugh.
Yeah.
You see the difference?
Yeah.
Then if I had just sat in it and been like, oh my God, we got lost. We sat in all this traffic and I can't believe I packed all this stuff in the cooler.
Right.
That's rewiring.
Right. Right. So the topic is understanding the mind-body connection in healing autoimmune disorders, that it's connected to trauma, right? You mentioned the word off record of trauma too. So what would be the baby step to that?
Okay. Especially with autoimmune. And of all people, I get it. I live with chronic pain and fatigue. And, you know, you can be one completely different person at 9 a.m. versus 3 p.m. the same day.
Yeah.
I think the aspect of starting with the gratefulness, and no matter how small, okay, there are some days my scalp hurts a lot. So if there's a day I can brush it and I'm pretty okay, I'm grateful that day that I have long hair and I have my hair. Like, you start small. It's not, why do I have this condition and my life is over, my life, there's nothing left for it. No, the rewiring starts with those little things. I'm going to be grateful. I do have people that love me. I have my cat who loves to snuggle, no matter how small. That wonderful piece of chocolate the kids didn't find in the pantry,
Yes.
those sorts of things. And the other thing is starting with little steps, like when we were speaking earlier, getting to know each other, Valeria, I spoke about like how, the physical exercise being important, and people thinking, okay, well, I'm going to go from 0 days a week to 5 days a week. It's not going to happen. This is not sustainable.
Right.
So I literally was that 0 person per week. So between kids and business and everything and not feeling well, I literally would go on the treadmill for 3 minutes.
Gosh. Yeah.
3 minutes. It was 3 more minutes than I did before. That's growth.
Yeah, I agree.
And if one of the days I didn't do the 3 minutes, that's okay. That's okay. It's still, see, I think that's where people get stuck. They think like, oh, my anxiety's gotta go away, or my depression goes. No, that's not feasible.
Yeah.
Even if you do something 10% more, that's still growth.
Right. Yes, beautiful. I love that message. Also, people tend to get very uneasy around mistakes, right? So that's the thing. I heard somebody say that we need to reframe that too. It takes a lot of courage.
It does.
To try something different. So, and if we make a mistake by trying something that we never done before and then it doesn't work, we need to be grateful, as you said, for the courage, right? We needed to acknowledge that, the courage that it took to try something different.
And another one of my t-shirts, you only grow when you are uncomfortable.
Yes.
If you never take a risk or never let yourself feel uncomfortable, you are not going to grow.
True. That's so true.
You'll stay stagnant.
Yeah. God, so right in there, you already gave so many powerful steps to take, just as a reminder, and also powerful messages. If we can practice gratitude, that's a big one. We hear over and over again, because I talk to a lot of people, and there are so many books about gratitude and so many messages out there, but for a reason. It's because it works. Like you said, if we're having a bad moment, and then what's the way to reframe, to rewire the brain almost like instantly, is to be grateful for something in that moment. That is so true. It's so powerful. It's almost like magical from my perspective.
Right.
Wow, Bahareh, I love that. See, always, it's a reminder too, because sometimes we tend to forget, don't we, to be grateful. That's another thing. So it's almost like a practice that needs to be in place. So the more we do it, the more established that practice becomes. And that's why it's a practice and not a destination.
Right. And it'll make you closer to the people around you if you all do it together.
Oh, yeah.
I tell people, do it with your kids.
Yeah.
You're teaching them to be grateful.
Right. How do you define mental health these days? What is to be mentally healthy?
I think it goes back to just trying to be true to yourself as much as you can and not compromising your own boundaries.
Yeah.
For the sake of what you think is expected of you.
Yes. That makes a lot of sense. It resonates true to me. And again, that takes courage, doesn't it, Bahareh, to do that?
Yes.
It takes. So I think it was, who was that person who said courage is the foundation of all other virtues? It's like the mother of everything else that we can practice. Maya Angelou. She did. Yeah. She said that. I like the the concept of curiosity. I love being curious about everything. So, and I think I attach that to courage. Being curious to me is being
Yes.
courageous at the same time. I don't know if you do, but I kind of do that.
Yeah, you're growing, right? You're uncomfortable. Like, you're kind of going for it. Maya Angelou has another, I love Maya Angelou, and one of her other ones I live by is when you know better, you do better. Right?
Yes. Yeah. It goes back to knowledge and awareness.
Yeah.
Yes. So let's talk about, God, I have way too many questions for you, but I want to go through the outline for the topic of the conversation today. Again, understanding the mind-body connection in healing autoimmune disorders. So the first one is understanding that connection. Talk to me a bit more about that. I know you have been already disclosing some information here, but not really specifically talking about this mind-body connection. So that's the first point, understanding the mind-body connection. How does it work and how do we get to understand that better?
So a lot of research has now come out showing how we do hold things in our physical bodies due to our sympathetic nervous system being activated.
Yeah.
So when that happens, it causes an inflammatory response. So that usually will release things like cortisol, right?
Yeah.
So they've shown that people who have had a lot of stress will show heightened levels of immune activity. So things like chronic childhood trauma or any type of trauma can kind of, their thinking can trigger the expression of an autoimmune. So, but, it could be things like stress in general. It could be drug abuse. It could be, for some women, it's childbirth. I spoke to a specialist in women's health, and she said that a lot of perimenopausal women start to get diagnosed with autoimmune conditions due to the shifts in hormone triggering it to come out.
Right.
And then you bring in when your mind is struggling with you living with these symptoms, that maybe you're no longer able to participate or do certain things that you did before. So that's where a lot of that it's so multi-layered.
Right.
So it's not just like your body is fighting against you, but your own brain.
Right. Talk to me a bit before we continue here with this outline about your own story, Bahareh. What inspired you? What is your why behind this specific topic of autoimmune disorders and the body-mind connection?
I feel like people a lot of times just give up.
Yeah.
It's as if they're given a diagnosis or not a diagnosis. It can take years to get diagnosed with an autoimmune because it's so complex.
Right.
But then just staying in it. And I think that's where it is. I look at the difference. I come from a family where there are a lot of autoimmune issues. And although being one of the older ones in the family and probably functioning the best, compared to other family members due to the way I practice the gratefulness, mindfulness,
Yeah.
the little supplements here and there I take to help that I look up or other people teach me about. Making sure I'm on top of my medical appointments and such. Doing that physical activity, even when I feel like I need to drag myself to do it. But knowing like this doesn't mean anything. It's the meaning I put to it that matters.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it is, to kind of maybe empower people.
Yeah. Do you add any spirituality, this kind of spirituality of knowing our essence in order to connect with ourselves, with our family members, people in the world, the environment, and so on? Is that something that you engage in?
I do. In a personal sort of way. I come from Iran, where religion, a beautiful religion, was misconstrued. And so I believe that we come into contact with people for bigger purposes a lot of times. And I believe in kindness. I put out good juju, not for the sake of getting stuff in return, but just to put it out there.
Yeah.
I think people get caught up a lot. I think it comes with the comparisons to other people.
Yes.
And the biggest thing there is, like, I think the mind shift of, especially like with the autoimmune, like, oh, okay, like my friends are able to, I mean, I've been that person, my friends, I had a friend climb, my best friend climbed Kilimanjaro. 2 of them did Machu Picchu. And I mean, there is no way. But to say, but that doesn't take anything away from me.
Right.
I'm not comparing myself to them. I'm comparing myself to me.
Yes.
So that's where people get messed up. Because I personally know people like very wealthy people, or what people you would never know. And I wouldn't want their life for anything because of the things they've had to deal with.
Right.
So that's why I'm like, don't ever compare. Compare against yourself. Where was I yesterday? What can I do a little different today?
Yeah. That's another piece of timeless wisdom, right? Focus here. Yeah.
Focus here.
Comparison, yeah, it never works. Admiration, it's beautiful to have, right? To feel inspired by others. I love that.
Right, like Valeria. I'm never going to be Giselle Bundchen. I'm never going to be 6 foot tall, gorgeous, right? Like, so why am I comparing myself, right, to, like, no.
Yeah. Oh, I would love to hear more. I know you mentioned briefly about meditation, mindfulness meditation. So talk to me specifically about that. How does it affect our immune system, mindful meditation, and how do we learn to begin to do that? For a lot of people, again, they believe that we can just do like 30 an hour a day in order to get some benefits. But we know that's not true. In my case too, I started, I think, with 10 minutes, and then I can do a lot more.
You started 10 minutes. That's awesome.
That seems like a lot,
2
right?
minutes. 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was hard, even those 2 minutes, because my mind kept wandering. But what it does do, the reason mindfulness is important, you start at 2 minutes, is it's not necessarily that it's helping at that moment. You are practicing the skills and making muscle memory so that when you need it, you can use it.
Yeah.
That's the important part. We don't realize we stop breathing, a lot of us, when we're stressed or upset. Like, I go to Pilates, my amazing trainer, Ken, breathe, breathe, breathe. Because if it's hard, but if you notice, if you don't breathe, things are harder.
Yes.
You actually can do more when you're breathing. So it also has been shown to help with inflammation. And to help with flares. So flares with autoimmune, a lot of times they're stress induced. And at first, I mean, I have a wonderful rheumatologist at UCLA who looks at both sides, Western and Eastern. That's why I've been with her so long, almost 20 years. And we talked about mindfulness, and people don't, at first I was like, she's telling me about this, but what is it going to do? But here I am teaching it to my own clients. And I started doing it because I'm like, how can I be telling clients to do something? Start 2 minutes, and it really helped. And do it with your family. 2 minutes, 5 minutes in the morning, put on your Alexa if you've got one of those. The Calm app, Headspace, there's so many different ones. I've known people getting so good at it, they don't even need the apps. They go into like a whole other realm or something. And these are the people that started at 2 minutes as well.
Yes, that's another beautiful suggestion for all of us to, when beginning anything, right? Because we become scared that we won't be able to do it. And it just takes too much time and all that. But I love the suggestion, 2 minutes only. Yeah, you just start there because it's a practice, as you said, and then we will see it's almost like a compound effect, right? It accumulates. It's interesting. It becomes a habit, and that's how habits are formed.
About 3 to 4 months. Right. 3 to 4 months. If you are consistent, it will become a habit.
Right. You see, we want to engage with healthy habits. We want to create new ones, right? And then the old ones will dissolve. They might not disappear, but they will become less visible, or the mind will become less occupied.
We're rewiring, baby. We're rewiring.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Wire that brain. Wire that brain.
Yeah. Yes. And then the other point is visualization and imagery techniques for symptom management. That's another big one. I love that. I love visualizations lately more than ever. I don't know why, but yes. So how does it work for those who don't know about that technique, visualization and imagery techniques?
So we help guide people, and because for different individuals, it's different places. Yeah. For some, it could be their bedroom that they want to visualize. That's where they feel safest and calmest. Others, it's the beach. Some people, desert, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Think of 2 places you feel safest, calmest. Kind of picture it in your head. What are the sights? What are the sounds? Are there any smells? Put yourself there. That's how you start with the visualization. So holding that picture in your mind while you're helping learn the box breathing or different sorts of breathing techniques or mindfulness. Yeah. So at times of stress, it's where you can kind of go in your brain to help ground yourself. So it's called grounding, right?
Right.
So when we teach kids here at our office, or even adults, think of your senses. So you want to ground yourself. You picture things. Put a lemon under your nose, an orange to ground yourself. Those warhead candies that are so sour.
Yeah, yeah.
Sticking your hand in ice water to bring yourself back. These are all sorts of things that can help.
Wow. Yeah, how interesting that you say that. So in a way, we lose that connection again, body, mind, and we're just in the mind the whole time. We forget where we are physically. So the power of breathing, of the breath, that can be integrated within all these techniques, right, Bahareh? The mindfulness meditation, visualization, from what I heard from you. Is that something that we can do together, or should we try to separate them? Just, find space only for breathing techniques, and then for meditation, then visualization.
I think if you're just starting, and you've never had experience, find an app you like. There's different ones. So it's not like a one size fits all. And starting with something that can help guide you, you still don't have to finish the whole thing. 2 minutes, 3 minutes. And then YouTube's got great ones as well. Again, finding what works for you. You can separate them in the beginning just so you're not kind of overwhelmed and trying to follow all these directions. And people then try to overthink, and then it defeats the whole purpose.
Yes.
I'm one of those people. So if I'll get in my head because I want to do it right, but then it's like defeating the purpose.
Right.
And follow along. The best ones I saw when I help people and they did it at home, and they said, well, it's not helping. And I said, well, what are you doing? And they show me. I have them show me, and they go, oh. And I'm like, yeah, that's not going to help you. Yeah. You need to follow the prompts, like not speed it up times 2.
Yeah. And then when it comes to lifestyle modifications, what do you suggest first? I know you mentioned exercise, also diet, right? Changing the way we eat. Is that something that you recommend specific?
Right. I think things with autoimmune, I mean, again, I'm not like a medical doctor, but I know like with my own research, like nightshades, like eggplant, tomato, those sorts of acidic foods can cause some difficulties. Like staying away from kale, because people with autoimmune can get more like kidney stones. Making sure, with the physical activity, like finding what you like.
Yes.
Like for me, these getting on a stationary bike with I was like, I'm not going anywhere. I can't do this, even if the guy's like. So finding something that you like, and doing it once to twice a week for 3 to 4 months, it's a habit. It becomes then a habit. Sleep is a big one.
Yeah, it is.
Diet. Looking at all sorts of people that can help. Looking outside the box. So I felt like, okay, I can feel better being, the age I am with hormonal changes, seeing a functional doctor to add to my team.
Yeah.
Those sorts of things. Having a good support system.
Right.
Using your village.
Yeah, right. So that's a beautiful one. I love that. Is that within this last point here that you sent it to me, integrating mind-body approaches into autoimmune treatment plans. So that's exactly what we have discussed today, like so far, integrating the mind-body approaches. And that would be everything else, exercise and the mindfulness, visualization and all that. And connection goes back to that.
Exactly. I don't want people to just feel like they're stuck. Yeah. You can always do something, no matter how small. And once you start doing those little steps, you'll see. Like then it starts to really pick up.
Yes.
You're just trying to work out new muscles.
Yeah, and it goes back to the rewiring the brain, which there's so many ways of doing that. I want to talk a bit more about trauma and how that affects, that causes autoimmune disorders. That's interesting. Oh, I'm sure there's a lot more that we don't even know, right? The consequences, the ripple effect of trauma. There's so much so many other effects that we don't know. But I would love for you to talk to me a little bit more about that. So do you, in a way, feel or believe that that's really the cause of most of our illnesses, disease, and so on?
I think In my personal opinion, I think so. I think it has to go somewhere, and it then gets held in the body. Even as an adult, when I go through certain things, people look at me and say, you would never know that you're handling all this stuff or you're under stress. And I've thought about it. I thought maybe my system's just very used to it.
Yeah.
When you've lived with it for so long, it's sometimes you feel like maybe your body needs it, but that's not the case. But people have to just feel very empowered about that. Yes, maybe it sucked growing up and there were some awful things, but it doesn't have to dictate the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Or what you're able to do.
Yeah, right. I would love to know your thoughts about cause and effect when it comes to also life itself appearing in this reality, in this body as a baby to a certain family and going through suffering. Is that something that you feel it's coming from somewhere, perhaps past lives and so on?
I think I think a bit of it could be that. I think it's more just the intergenerational stuff people have gone through that just keeps getting passed on. And then like through the cultures. So, and how it just will keep moving on throughout the generations until someone kind of stops it or tries to change it or even is aware of it.
Right.
That's where I get stuck with it. It's more like what my great-great-grandparents went through down to my great-grandparents, down to my grandparents, and then my parents, right? And then how it affected my sister and I. And then my children, because I do see how my coping skills that I had to develop to survive, that I've worked on, right, to kind of shift as they're not serving me anymore. But at times of stress or when you feel under attack, you'll revert. And I see where that intergenerational stuff then is coming out. So that's where my brain gets caught on.
Yes, it's very scientific. It's fact-based. Yes, which is it's less mystical, the way perhaps I'm very interested in mysticism and spirituality. Even it doesn't sound abstract to me. It actually feels very real. But yes, that makes a lot of sense too. Of course, intergenerational trauma being passed down, and that's the legacy, right, that we are leaving. Yeah,
Right.
of course, that's definitely cause and effect again in play. But then what comes to mind is that where did that begin? Like, because I heard that we are, the first humans. I don't know all this evolution of being human. Seems like we were kind of in a way predestined to go through a lot of challenges, right?
Right. Well, right. So what I think that, right, it was, I do believe in okay, well, for the people, then the humans that came about who were able to kind of survive, right? Got through and people develop. But I think what happens is we develop coping skills because we have to survive. But then at some point, they actually work against us. For instance, growing up, my sister and I, because of our circumstances, never expressed our own feelings or our needs were never acknowledged or whatever it was. So as we had to do that to survive when younger. But as you get older, I got divorced, and by the fourth relationship, when you're hearing the same thing of, you just shut down. You don't need anyone. You don't talk about your feelings. You do all this work, but you don't communicate about yourself. By the fourth person that told me this, I had to kind of look at myself. The coping skills I needed as a kid or a teenager to get through no longer were serving me or helping me survive. They were working against me. So that's the other thing. So this thing of people saying, well, this is who I am. I've always been this way. No. You had a coping skill to get through what you needed to do. It is no longer serving you. You need to then shift. If you want other things in your life, you need to shift.
Yes, gosh, very good point. Right. When it comes to, we're almost at the end. I have to ask you this question. When it comes to the human evolution, what is your vision? What do you see? I know you mentioned kindness before. I love that. But it's, what could you add to that? How do you see humans perhaps 500 years from now?
I hope things shift again. I feel like the past 5 years have been very hard. I've seen a shift in people.
Yeah. I
feel like the kindness or compassion, benefit of the doubt is lacking. Along with the, shitty things happen to everyone. Like, it's just how you're going to respond. My other thing to people is don't take shit personal. More likely than not, it has nothing to do with you. You are not that important or center of the universe. Right. People in the world have their own stuff. It has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
If you think it does, ask.
Yeah. I think about consciousness when I think about that, the evolution of consciousness. Yeah, the way we think, the things that we believe in. Yes, I heard about, I interview a lot of people about narcissism, and they, when I ask the question about what is, at this time, what's the greatest need in the world? And I hear a lot of the love, empathy. I hear that a lot. And then I have a lot of people saying that we have a lot of these narcissistic traits, a lot of people feeling important. Yeah, that sense of importance, taking everything
entitled.
Personally. Yeah, entitlement. That's not helping, right? So that's why I always go back to that balance. And it feels to me like perhaps people are coming together that way. I see a lot of couples coming from those kind of relationships, where one is very empathic, very kind, and there's this narcissistic kind of bringing chaos into their minds.
Well, it wouldn't work otherwise.
Yes.
It wouldn't work. That's what we do. All we do in our lives is repeat patterns.
Yeah.
Until you identify that it's not healthy for you, you're going to keep repeating the patterns. If you grow up never feeling emotionally safe, you're not going to be with someone who's emotionally safe. It doesn't look the same as we get older, but it's the same pattern.
Gosh, Bahareh, it is. So it goes back again to self-knowledge, self-awareness.
Insight. When you say, what do people need? Insight.
Yeah.
Just have some insight. What is insight? That I'm able to put myself in someone else's shoes.
Yes. I love that too. Yes. That might be one of the greatest needs, right? That's why my path has been spirituality, because it might be a shortcut to that insight. It came so quick that everything's connected, everything's sacred, everything's divine. So you're always meeting the divine over and over again. Be kind, in a sense, like you're meeting yourself in a way, your own essence. So yeah, that for me has changed everything. And of course, it's still a practice at some level with my husband. That's the biggest one. For some reason, it's funny, in our house, right, becomes like the biggest. That's where we need to practice the most, what we preach and what we believe in.
Always.
Isn't it? I can imagine you're with children. I have heard about children being like, mothers say, oh, they have been my greatest teachers, my teachers.
Yes, they are the best teachers. And people say, oh, you're like, your kids must love you. I'm sure my kids love me. I love my children. But no, do I have moments? Of course. I once threw a chicken wing on the ground. I was so mad.
Oh, no.
But did I like say I haven't had growth? No. I've grown a lot, but I'm human.
Right. Gosh, it has been amazing to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Valeria. Anytime.
Yeah, thank you for being you, for just being open. That's what it is too. I love your knowledge, and I love the fact that you're sharing it, everything you know. I mean, we didn't share everything that you know in this interview, but I love the generosity. There's something about that. I say that's kindness to me, to just be very grounded and very authentic and kind of come from our own humble kind of experiences. That changes everything. To me, those are the most powerful teachings or messages that I get here. When you just said, and I threw just a chicken on the floor, those type of things.
Yeah, it's a chicken wing. Yeah.
So that's really amazing. Thank you again for being you. I love the sense of human. We need more of that.
Always.
So before we say goodbye, we're almost at the end. I do have the ending question for you. But before that, I want to mention your websites. hiveofhope.org, centerdcs.com, Diagnostic and Counseling Center. And you have another website that I think I found it somehow, EVALINC. I'll have it clickable for you on the podcast link so that's easier that way.
Thank you. Right.
All of those links. But before we say goodbye and I ask you this last question, is there anything that you left unsaid for this conversation today?
I just want people, be yourself. Everybody else is taken.
Yes.
Be yourself. You don't need to educate people. You don't need to change their opinion. Let them be. You can love people from afar. Just be true to yourself. That's all.
Yeah.
Thank you, Valeria.
Thank you. I love how you connected that to mental health. Yeah, being a psychologist. So that's beautiful. So before we say goodbye, thank you again. And my last question is, what is freedom to you, Bahareh? How do you see this idea, this concept of freedom? What is to be free?
To me, freedom means to be able to communicate your needs clearly and be okay if the other person can't fulfill it. But to not go back on what you need.
Yes.
Or change the standards on what you need.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So honor our own needs. That's
honor your own needs. Yeah.
Yeah. That's another big one for all of us to be reminded of. Thank you so much again for your beautiful presence, for the work that you're doing at so many levels, and for being you, for being true to you, and for being kind. That's another one. Thank you, Bahareh.
Thank you.
And we'll talk soon. Bye for now.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.